Coming to you live with the insight you need from the financials and political capitals of the world to the heart of innovation. This is Opportunities to Consider with your host, author, speaker, and corporate strategist, Hunter Gaylor.
Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Markets Hunters. We are coming to you live with actually breaking news. It's 11:19 here on Thursday, April 27th, and we're live across all platforms, bringing to you lots of opportunities to consider. I'm going to bring in our guest today, Robert Liscouski, who is the CEO of Quantum Computing, Inc. We talk with Bob a lot. Bob, how are you doing today?
Doing great there, Hunter. Thanks.
Oh, well, listen, we know we just had last week the Quantum Day, World Quantum Day. So that was very exciting. A lot of people are talking about it. But actually, I'm very excited to talk with you today because you had a press release that released this morning. So anyone that's watching it can go look it to your website. It'll also be in the link. And if you follow us on Twitter, I'll link it right after this live stream. But we talked last time about some AI applications and how the reservoir computer and how you're going to be powering a lot of these AI applications. Well, now here we have it. You're delivering on what you're saying, and you're now creating a relationship with a company called Millionways AI, which is a really interesting company that I have actually played with, and I've signed up for, and I've begun using and going into it. And it's really very interesting because it's an emotional AI. Normally with AI, Bob, we see, like ChatGPT. You ask it a question, it gives you back very binary information, right? Whereas when we look at what emotional AI or this company Millionways does, at least what I've been playing with it, it's analyzing your dictation. It's analyzing your speech patterns. It's analyzing the way that, say, you talk or the way you communicate versus the way I communicate. And I find that very, very interesting. And I really want to get your thoughts on, obviously this press release and what this means for not just QUBT, but what this means for AI companies that maybe are following this.
Yeah, sure. So, as we've spoken in the past, we always know that quantum computing in the domain, the technology is going to have a big impact on AI. Better training sets or the ability to train more data more quickly, do more complex things with the AI. That's always been the offering for quantum computing. And as we've spoken, we know that we would be playing in that space. I didn't want to talk about the things that we could be doing. Our strategy is always talk about what we are doing, not what we could be doing. And we've been working with the folks from Millionways for a little while now, and we see that there's a real opportunity, particularly with what they're doing. So this is not just regenerative AI. This is actually doing some interesting analysis and real time being able to adjust some of the content. So, for example, what they're currently doing, as you point out, emotional scoring using text. They take Twitter feeds or text feeds and things like that, and it's text. So there's got to be a little bit of work being done there.
Right.
What's different about what we're doing is we're going to be doing audio files, voice, right, and being able to basically make the same determinations, the characteristics for the emotional scoring that go into the text base. We'll be doing on voice base. And then that opens up an entire world of applications that are not currently being addressed. So that's what the real interesting is. Now, so there's two things here. Quantum computing, QCI, as an application or quantum or reservoir quantum computer that can be applied to AI, and that's always been the case. And then B, we actually have a test case that we're going into the market with, or will be going into the market. We're going to do this proof of concept to make sure we can actually do the things we're talking about. This announcement is about the partnership with the company. We're highly confident that we're going to be able to do it. We want to prove it, and then we want to be able to take it into the market.
Well, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, right? Because in this release, it talks about a lot of the AI applications, and obviously, I've used Millionways, and for any of our viewers that want to go play with it, I highly encourage you to do so. I recorded over 25 minutes of my voice answering the questions, emotional questions, life questions, business related questions, goal related questions. And it started things in my mind, right? Your costs of your systems, the training of the data sets. So if you have a lot of people starting to use these AI applications, they're going to need that processing speed. So is this kind of the first step that you're taking with the company, is helping them reduce those costs?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, increase capability and reduce cost at the same time. So it's multiple benefits here, I think. And then showing where I think the real applications can add value. And it's exactly what we're doing. Yep.
So obviously, one of the leading quantum hardware companies, we've talked about, how, and we've been following for some time now in these conversations, Robert, where we go back and we look at, where you started, the release of the Dirac, the hardware, the software stack solutions, what you're doing in cyber, what you're doing in, the banking. And we've always talked about this emergence of AI. And now to see you doing something with the company that I think is going to be a leader in the AI space, especially when we get into the use cases of this. Large companies that have always tried to use like predictive indexes and things like that to understand personality. A lot of HR departments are starting to, use these types of systems. It seems to me, and this is continuing to prove the point, the more AI applications, the more processing, or the more data, the more processing, the more need for, this type of computational equipment that you need, which is where, QCI comes in, right? And so let's talk a little bit about the coming together. Did they seek you out or did you seek them out?
They actually sought us out. I wasn't looking to test necessarily, or to, I try not to run the company on a headline, right? We can't be sensitive to the headlines, but obviously I don't want to be ignorant to them either, because we know we actually have a capability that could be meaningful, but we didn't want to just do another chat GPT. That was going to be meaningless. What's meaningful is to take on a new capability. They came to us. They've been doing their research, looking at the various aspects of what quantum computing in general can do to the field. And when we started talking about it, we recognized that we have, there's for their use case, it's a great use case for what we do. And so we just had, more conversations around the application of their technology. And, quite candidly, we wanted to make sure that they were going to be differentiating enough to get involved with. And they've done some great work already. I mean, they've got some great clients. They're doing good work in the space. Their value proposition for AI is different. And that's what attracted us in particular. And that differentiation of their value proposition was right dead center to where we can add value. So it became a good match.
No, I think that's really important, because I think a lot of people, as they look at the advancement of AI capabilities, and then that's a direct quote, you're enthusiastically looking forward to teaming up with QCI to demonstrate how their advanced AI capabilities will benefit from quantum information technologies. And Millionways has a number of practical capabilities already in the marketplace, like their emotionally intelligent AI that helps companies build the right teams, have a strong culture with highly motivated employees. And so when I read things like this, and I think our listeners and our viewers look at this, when these AI companies are now starting to reach out to companies like yours, they're understanding, okay, there is a need for this in the marketplace, and it's justifying the existence. It's not just talk, it's actual action. And I think that's very impressive, especially when you're creating real world solutions. We've always talked about this, right? ChatGPT is obviously has everyone talking, right? AI has everyone talking. But when we peel back the layers, Bob, and this is something I kind of want to get your thoughts on, there still has to be underlying computational like hardware to power this software, right? It's not like some holographic Star Wars thing. I mean, although it seems like slowly, step by step, we're getting there. But would you say that more and more AI companies are going to start taking the lead, like what Millionways is doing, whether it's with your company or another company? I mean, obviously, you guys have the proven technology here, but where do you see the landscape just in the field of AI and quantum computing going?
Yeah, so let's go back to an analogy we often use, or which is often used in the quantum industry. You go back to your iPhone, right, and you look at the transition between a flip phone, just a regular phone, and a smartphone. Whether it be an iPhone or an Android, it doesn't make any difference. But when that technology first came about, it was interesting, right, and people knew that they could do more than just make a phone call. And once users got that technology in their hands to see what the art of the possible was using different applications, it became a very virtuous cycle. You had people desiring to do more things. You had hardware makers meeting that desire, right, by providing more capability. And the easiest one to show is, cameras. Right now, most these phones have anywhere between 5 to plus more cameras on there, right? And kind of date myself a bit. When I first started using digital cameras, you spent a lot of money to get a 1 megapixel capability on a camera, right? And now you've got orders of magnitude better camera on your phone, right, for virtually a fraction of the price. That's the technology edge, and that's how technology advances. You put technology in the hands of a user that actually can see real benefit to it, and then they'll start pushing the technology because they want more and more and more capability. I think that's the inflection point we're at right now. ChatGPT admittedly is older technology. It's not new technology. It's a great marketing tool, right? It shows the value of AI because you have a couple of things coming together. You have a technology that can do things, you have data, and you have hardware that can actually make the technology really deliver. And people want more of it, right? So now you're looking at this, this wave of technology coming into the marketplace, which is all AI related. And by natural extension of that technology coming in, they're looking for better ways to do those things that they can do that go beyond what classical computing can do. And that's the intersection where QCI comes in, because with our technology, we can like slice right in there, and we can show better benefits to using quantum technologies. And at the end of the day, people don't care if they're using quantum. All they want to get is better answers, right? A better application that can do things that they think they want to try to do, right? So it's actually, from my point of view as a technologist, it's where we need to be. We need to be moving the actual technology on the back burner and the actual use of the technology on the front burner, right? I've always advocated this. When it comes to quantum technologies or AI or whatever, it's less about the actual, it's a paradox. It's all about the technology on one level, right? But at the user level, it should be completely transparent to the user what technology they're using.
Right.
They should just get better stuff, better photographs, better answers, better interactions with the computer. All that should be in the characterization of they get exactly what they want. Oh, and by the way, it's being done on a quantum computer, or it's being done somewhere. All right. That's where when we transition through that, then we know the market's becoming more accepting of these technologies because they believe that they're going to actually provide some value. And I think we're at that, we're kind of, I wouldn't say we're at that inflection point, but we're certainly moving to that inflection point.
Well, I mean, it's like Intel, right? Intel's always been like the chip inside. I mean, whether it's, a MacBook Pro or a big display or a Dell or any of these other things, it's kind of what's powering it. To me, as a consumer, I just look at, hey, can I get better connection speeds? Do I have better graphic cards? Do I have, so I definitely see how at some point it'll be very ubiquitous. I believe.
It will be. And to pick up on that point, pardon me for interrupting, but it's an exciting point. It's, it's powered by QCI, right? The whole notion of how these technologies can evolve. And that's where I want our listeners here, your listeners, to really understand something. We're a small company. And I don't want to be viewed as somebody who's just trying to chase after a headline or just trying to be all things to all people. We're not that. We have a core capability built on photonic quantum capabilities, right? And a photonic quantum chip that we produce, which is powering everything that we're doing, whether it be our EQC and or EQC 1 and 2, or Dirac 1 and 2 rather, or a reservoir computer, or our LiDAR image, LiDAR capability, or cybersecurity. All these applications are fundamentally powered by the same technology. So we're extremely focused in what we're doing, and the applications themselves are being driven by the market. Now, that's why I wanted to go to market with Millionways AI, because they know their market. We don't have to be the experts in emotional intelligence, and we'll let them do what they do. We'll just help them power to get to a better answer. That's how QCI is going to expand into the marketplace.
Well, it's definitely very exciting, and we're going to be following this. I'm excited to play around with the application, and now knowing that it's going to be powered, so I'll get my answers faster and get the results quicker. That'll always be good. Because one of the things that I think everyone experiences, and this is just kind of a comical point, is we call it the spinning wheel of death, right? It's
Yeah,
just
right.
where
Right.
when the application just stops, and it's like, and then you wait and you wait. But as the new quantum technologies come out and allow for faster processing speeds, really just it takes a quantum leap, pun intended. But literally, these applications being able to run at a much more efficient way is going to be great for the overall user experience. So I'm looking
Well,
forward to that.
yeah, it will be, but I think, in addition to the actual computing capability, the actual, like I said, go back to the applications piece. What I think the value here to the user is going to be in areas that we kind of think about, but we don't really think are going to be really possible. For example, right now you and I are talking, right?
Right.
We're having a human interaction. I'm giving you information. You're coming back with questions. We're imagine you have that ability to do that with with artificial intelligence, right? But you're trying to get that assessment from from a healthcare provider, right? So a healthcare
Right.
provider is trying to assess the individual. So at a human level, we're going to give off cues. We're going to give off certain things in our voice and our language and the way our syntax that can be analyzed and determine, is this person being truthful? Is this person under stress? Are there any characteristics of what they're saying that I need to know to give them a better evaluation or diagnosis on their health? Are there things that I can be picking up on? And that's where the data acquisition piece and then ultimately the analysis of that data is really going to become powerful. So imagine now, one of the applications that they've talked about is, the elderly population, right? So, not necessarily the most computer literate, but even in the next generation, when the elderly population goes from being computer literate to maybe not capable of being able to manage their computer or their interactions,
Right.
they can talk, right? And one of the things about elderly populations, they either are isolated and maybe lonely, or they need somebody, they need information, but they're not going to be typing it into the computer. Well, Alexa or one of the other digital assistants that are out there today are shaping us to ask questions, and we get some decent answers out of that stuff. But imagine now you've got an AI capability that's reacting to the questions you're asking and giving you much better fidelity around the data but it's doing it in a real-time way that current technologies can't do. It's going to change the way people interact with these technologies, and it's going to go through a whole different dynamic application of different types of users. So like I said, medical, social, all sorts of capabilities that are not currently being addressed, and that's really where the interesting applications come into.
Well, no, I think you said it perfectly, and I think it gives a lot of our listeners and investors and people that are listening on really where the future is going. And we like to take that 3 to 5 year look into where a company is at now and where it could be in the next 3 to 5 years. And when we start seeing these milestones and these markers being made, we can clearly see that there's a foundation being set here that's going to just really increase the overall effectiveness, the productivity, and now with the million ways, the emotional aspect of it, right?
Right.
It's not
That's
just a
right.
binary, hello, Bob, how are you? But it creates a more realistic conversation that I think, as you said, with the elderlies, and we've looked into this actually, if you can just be aware of someone's emotions, because you don't know what they may be going through or something like that.
Right.
When these AI programs start coming in and you can start seeing these inflection points and these things, that'll be, an interesting step within, the world of technology.
It will be. And I'll tell you one other hidden value here, and people don't really focus on this from an attribute or a characteristic of quantum technologies, but the power consumption of quantum computers that can contribute, or at least, so the sustainability piece, right? And I don't want to just jump on that bandwagon as another thing, but the ability to do these more complex computations faster. Ordinarily, when you're adding GPUs, you're adding power requirements. And when we start talking about sustainability and the increase in power, what does it mean to data centers? What does it mean to GPU providers? there's an not maybe necessarily an exponential cost, but certainly a fairly big increase in power consumption and costs associated with that because of computations. Quantum goes in the other direction. At least when you talk about photonics, what we do what can be done with 96 core and megawatts worth of power to get an answer can be done with less than 80 watts worth of power in the quantum side to get a better answer. Yeah. So if you multiply that across these industries in terms of where an AI is going to be a very power consumptive driven industry, quantum computing will contribute to that in addition to all the other computational advantages that it has. It's a big deal.
Well, the more and more we look into this, there's new advancements in technology happening every day. And that's why we're looking to see really where the future is taking shape, because we're experiencing it. So, and I'm actively playing with these applications too, because, I want to make sure I stay on top of it, because, I'm going to see the different industries that this starts taking over. I mean,
yeah,
I'm actually curious, and this is a totally off the side note here, but when you look at the gaming industry and you take something like a multiplayer online game like a Call of Duty or World of Warcraft or any of these massive multiplayer online games where you just don't have chat, you have audio, you have real time things going on all over the place. Talk about power consumption, right? I mean, you've got all these devices in your house plugged around, you've got millions of if not hundreds of millions of people on these things playing. It's going to be interesting to see how quantum takes a role in that aspect as well.
No, it's true. And, the same conversation we're having today in a year from now is going to be, obviously, a lot of these things are going to have been addressed, right? Or at least starting to be addressed. So it is exciting to see it. And and the other benefit, and I know I don't want to belabor this point, but, these advances are coming so fast and the marketplace is demanding such return on their expectations for things that I think, it'll be a different conversation a year from now in terms of what the expectations are, or what's been delivered for those expectations. And I think it'll be very positive. I really do.
Well, I think that's exciting. So, Bob, thank you so much again for joining us on the Markets Hunter Show. And we're going to make sure we keep these conversations going on a monthly basis. Several times a month, we'll be talking these quantum minutes where we jump on social and we keep these conversations going, because there's a lot of news coming out. And, it's easier to keep the conversation fluid than it is to do constantly catch up, right? What did you do a year ago, right? Well, a year ago in a totally different place. But if we're following the journey, people can go back and they can watch, and it'll be really good. So, Bob, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Hunter. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Once again, everyone, thank you so much for taking the time to tune into our Markets Hunter program. We're streaming live across all channels. These will be re-uploaded to Twitter. It'll be pinned on our Twitter account as well as our LinkedIn, YouTube, and we have some more announcements coming out next week, actually, with the start of the month of May, with some new kind of exciting developments within the Markets Hunter ecosystem of various companies. And but we really like the stuff that Bob's talking about. So make sure you like and subscribe to our channels. Make sure you follow on Twitter. Make sure you follow the companies on Twitter as well, and across their social medias, because we're going to be constantly tagging and retweeting. So if you don't see it on their channel, you'll see it on our channel. We cover all their press releases, and it's very exciting. So make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And thank you again for tuning in to another episode of Markets Hunters Live.